I came home from a business trip to find my wife wearing a strange expression. Honey, can you do me a favor? Please, can you go grab a package for me downstairs? Something was wrong. Fury propelled me toward the bedroom. A man was hiding behind the door, a pistol in his hand. A single gunshot, and I collapsed in a pool of my own blood, my life ending in disbelief. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in that exact moment, just stepping through the front door. The light in the entryway was blinding. I stood at the threshold, my suitcase in hand, the key still in the lock. The condo was quiet. Too quiet. My wife, Jessica, was standing in the middle of the living room. She was wearing a silk nightgown I'd never seen before. The moment she saw me, the color drained from her face. Her eyes darted away as she twisted her hands together. Ethan, why you're home? I thought you weren't coming back until Wednesday. Her voice was tight, a tremor running through it that she couldn't quite hide. My heart sank. My flight got in early. I wanted to surprise her. It looked like the only surprise was on me. The air hung with the scent of an unfamiliar men's cologne. Expensive, not the kind I wore. Missed you. Came back early, I said, pushing my suitcase against the wall. I bent down to take off my shoes, but my eyes never left her. She forced a smile that looked more like a grimace. You must be exhausted. Sit down. I'll get you some water. She turned toward the kitchen, her steps unsteady. I didn't move. My gaze swept the living room. On the coffee table, 2 wine glasses sat side by side. One of them bore the distinct, ruby-red imprint of lipstick. My fists clenched at my sides. Honey, Jess said, walking out with a glass of water. She stood in front of me, blocking my view, her smile even more rigid. Could you go downstairs and get a package for me? I just got a text. The delivery guy is waiting. I can't go down dressed like this. She was practically begging, her eyes flickering toward the bedroom. In that instant, all the pieces clicked into place. The strange cologne, her panic, the 2 wine glasses, and now this pathetic excuse. A white-hot rage surged from my chest to my head. I pushed past her and strode toward the bedroom. Ethan, don't! She shrieked behind me. I twisted the doorknob. Behind the door stood a man. He was tall, dressed in a high-end suit, his face a mask of shock and viciousness at being discovered. Most importantly, he was holding a black pistol, the barrel aimed squarely at me. My mind went blank. Time froze. I could see Jess covering her mouth in terror, could see the murderous intent flash in the man's eyes. Pop! A muffled sound. A blossom of red erupted from my chest as the force of the impact threw me backward. My body slammed against the floor. I saw the chandelier spinning on the ceiling. In my last moments of consciousness, I saw the man walk to Jess and wrap an arm around her waist. She was trembling, but she leaned into his embrace. I told you to get rid of him. You useless bitch. The man's voice was ice. I didn't know he was coming back early. I refused to accept it. I died in my own home, at the hands of my wife and her lover. My world went black. The light in the entryway was blinding. I stood at the threshold, my suitcase in hand, the key still in the lock. What was happening? I snapped my head down, looking at my chest. My white dress shirt was clean, pristine. No bullet hole, no pain. I raised a hand to my heart. It was beating strong and steady. A hallucination? A dying dream? Ethan, why you're home? I thought you weren't coming back until Wednesday. I looked up. There was Jess, wearing that same silk nightgown, standing in the middle of the living room, the same panic on her face. The air still smelled of that expensive cologne. I wasn't dreaming. I was back to the minutes just before I was murdered. My body trembled with a cocktail of rage and residual fear. I had died once. The feeling of a bullet tearing through flesh, of life draining away. It was seared into my soul. Missed you. Came back early. I heard myself say, my voice terrifyingly calm. I repeated the same motions as before, pushing the suitcase aside, taking off my shoes. But this time, I gave her no opening. I stared her down, asking, syllable by syllable, Jessica, who is in the bedroom? Her face went completely white. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. She couldn't believe I knew. She thought her performance was flawless. What are you talking about? She stammered, still trying to lie. I was done wasting words. This time, I was ready. Instead of charging the bedroom, I turned and grabbed the metal baseball bat I kept by the door for security. I'd never used it before. The cold weight of it in my hand sharpened my focus. Ethan, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Jess screamed, trying to block my path. I shoved her aside with my elbow. She stumbled and fell onto the sofa. I kicked the bedroom door open. The man behind, it was Carter Vance, the heir to Vance Industries, our company's biggest rival. His expression was a carbon copy of the last time, shock morphing into cold fury. He, too, never expected me to come unarmed. He raised his gun, but I was faster. I wouldn't give him the chance to shoot again. With all my strength, I swung the bat, smashing it against his wrist. Crack! The sound of bones snapping was sickeningly clear. Carter let out a choked grunt of pain. The pistol flew from his grasp, landing silently on the thick carpet. He clutched his mangled wrist, his forehead instantly beaded with sweat as he glared at me. Hayes, you son of a bitch, you're dead. I didn't pause. The second swing connected squarely with his kneecap. Thump! His leg gave out, and he collapsed, kneeling on the floor. I walked over, planted my foot on his face, grinding him into the carpet, and then picked up the gun. It felt heavy and cold, radiating death. I clicked off the safety and pressed a muzzle to his head. Through it all, I was unervingly calm. Maybe dying once gave you a certain kind of courage. Why? I asked, my voice hoarse. Pinned beneath my foot, his face twisted with humiliation and rage. Go on, pull the trigger. You got the guts? You pathetic loser. Ethan, no. Jess scrambled over, grabbing my leg. Don't do this. It's murder. Please put the gun down. She was sobbing, a perfect picture of a concerned wife. The sight of her hypocritical face made me sick. Murder? Where was your concern when he was pointing this thing at me? I kick her away. He made me do it. He forced me. Honey, you have to believe me, she babbled. I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. Forced her? Forced her into a lingerie nightgown? Forced her to pour 2 glasses of wine? Carter sneered from the floor. Hayes, who do you think you are? Your wife's been with me for months. She's sick of you being broke, a nobody who can't give her what she wants. We've been planning to get rid of you for a while. That $2 million life insurance policy you have, that's your death warrant. $2 million. Life insurance. My head swam. Last month, Jess had insisted I take out a bigger policy, with her as the sole beneficiary. I thought she was just being caring, worried about me traveling so much. All this time, they had been planning my murder. An invisible hand squeezed my heart, the pain so sharp I could barely breathe. I looked at Jess. She avoided my gaze, her face as white as a sheet. Her silence was a confession. I closed my eyes. Rage, betrayal, heartbreak. The emotions swirled together, threatening to tear me apart. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. A neighbor must have heard the commotion and called 911. Hearing the sirens, Carter's face twisted into a triumphant sneer. The cops are here, Hayes. Who do you think they're going to believe? The victim of a home invasion, or the maniac who broke my arm and leg? You're finished. My stomach dropped. He was right. The gun was in my hand. He was injured. Jess would lie, say I came home and attacked him in a jealous rage. I'd be charged with aggravated assault, maybe even attempted murder. They would be the perfect victims. Urgent knocking echoed from the front door. Chicago PD. Open up. Both Jess and Carter were smiling now. They thought they had won. I looked at them and slowly raised the gun. Not at them, at my own temple. As they stared in horror, I pulled the trigger. If I couldn't get justice, I'd take another chance. Pop. The light in the entryway was blinding. I stood at the threshold, my suitcase in hand. The third time, my muscles still held the memory of pulling the trigger. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to be calm. Rage wasn't the answer. Acting on impulse would only dig me a deeper grave. The second loop proved that even if I overpowered Carter, I would lose in the eyes of the law. They would paint me as a violent monster. I couldn't do that again. I wanted revenge, but it had to be perfect. I would destroy them, make them pay a price far worse than death. Ethan, why you're home? Jess's voice, a perfect, punctual chime of doom. I looked up at her familiar face. We had been married for 3 years. I once thought she was the person who loved me most in the world. Now, the sight of her churned my stomach. Flight was early, I replied flatly, walking inside and setting my suitcase down. This time, I ignored the wine glasses on the table, ignored the cloying scent of cologne. I walked straight to the sofa and sat down, leaning back like I was exhausted from my trip. "So tired," I said. "I don't want to move." Jess froze. My reaction was completely outside her script. No surprise, no hug, not even a question. She stood there, unsure what to do. Honey," she finally managed, sticking to her lines. "Can you go downstairs and get a package for me? The delivery guy is waiting." "No," I said, closing my eyes. A clean, simple refusal. "What?" I said, "I'm tired. I'm not moving. Go yourself, or have him deliver it tomorrow." My voice was edged with impatience. This was my advantage. The information gap. She didn't know I had died twice. She didn't know I was aware of her armed lover hiding in our bedroom. She just thought I was in a bad mood or truly exhausted. Her plan was derailed. But I really need it. It's urgent," she pleaded, her voice taking on a desperate, whiny edge. "Then let him wait," I said, rolling over to face the back of the sofa. A dead silence fell over the living room. I could feel her anxious gaze burning into my back. She was scrambling, trying to figure out a new plan. Carter, in the bedroom, must have been getting antsy. The seconds ticked by, a silent battle of wills. After about 5 minutes, I heard her on the phone, her voice a hushed whisper. "Hey, he's back. Yeah, he won't go downstairs. I don't know what to do. Stop rushing me." Her voice was laced with panic and frustration. After hanging up, she came over and gently shook my shoulder. "Honey, are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong?" She was trying to play the sympathy card, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. I nearly gagged. I ignored her. A few more minutes passed. Then I heard it, a faint footstep from the bedroom. Carter couldn't wait any longer. He was coming out. I remained facing away from them, but every muscle in my body tensed. My ears strained, catching every subtle sound. The footsteps paused at the bedroom door. Then I heard Jess gasp. "What are you doing out here?" "Get back inside," she hissed. "I can't wait all night. If he doesn't go down soon, it'll be dark." Carter's voice, low and confident. "Watch me." He thought I was asleep. He thought he could just tiptoe past me and out the front door. A fatal miscalculation. The footsteps grew closer. 1 step, 2, just as he passed the sofa, nearing the entryway. I exploded off the couch, spinning around and slamming my foot into the small of his back. I put every ounce of my strength into that kick. Carter was completely blindsided. He flew forward like a rag doll, crashing into the shoe rack by the door. Crash! Decorative items rained down on the floor. He never even had a chance to reach for his gun. I gave him no time to recover. I leaped onto his back, driving my elbow down hard onto the back of his neck. He let out a muffled groan and went limp. I didn't know or care if he was unconscious or dead. I stood up and turned to face Jess. She was slumped on the floor, staring at me in absolute terror, as if I were a demon. You knew," she finally choked out. "What do you think?" I said, walking toward her, each step landing like a hammer blow on her heart. "Let me get you a glass of water," I said. She flinched, scrambling backward. I went into the kitchen and pulled the longest fruit knife from the block. Then I poured a glass of water and, holding both, returned to the living room. I placed the glass on the coffee table in front of her. "Drink up." Her eyes were fixed on the knife in my hand. She shook her head frantically. "Let me tell you a story," I said, sitting on the sofa across from her, casually scraping the tip of the knife against my fingernail. "Once upon a time, there was a fool who loved his wife very much. He came home early from a trip to surprise her. His wife asked him to go downstairs to get a package, and he went without a second thought. I looked up, meeting her terrified gaze. Guess what happened next? He was just walking out of the building when a flower pot fell from a balcony above and smashed him on the head. He died. Jessica's pupils contracted. That was their backup plan. If I'd gone downstairs, I would have been killed by a falling object, a staged accident. I knew because in some forgotten loop, I had made that choice. How? How could you? I also know I cut her off, that you two had that flower pot ready on the master bedroom balcony. The moment I walked into the right spot, Carter would have pushed it. Right. Jessica's defenses completely crumbled. She stared at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and disbelief. In her mind, I had become some kind of all-knowing prophet. What are you? She whispered. I'm your husband. Ethan, I said. The one you've killed a few times now. I stood up, walked over to the unconscious Carter, and pulled the gun from his jacket. This time, I wasn't rushing. I placed the gun and the knife on the coffee table, then took out my phone and started a voice recording. "All right," I said, sitting back down and crossing my legs. "Now we can have a real chat. Tell me, why did you want to kill me? For the $2 million in insurance? Or was there something else?" Jess looked at the weapons on the table, then at me. She knew there was no escape. It was Carter's idea, she began, shifting the blame. "He said if you were gone, we could be together, and that big project at your company would fall right into his lap. The insurance money was just a bonus." The company project? My mind raced. I was leading a massive, 9-figure collaboration with an overseas firm. Carter's company, Vance Industries, had been fighting for it tooth and nail. So, this wasn't just about sex and money. It was corporate espionage. "Go on." He said you were in his way, that if you were dead, he had ways to steal the project from your company. He promised me $10 million and that he would marry me. Her voice faded to a whisper. $10 million and the promise of marrying a rich heir. That's what 3 years of my marriage was worth. I laughed until tears welled in my eyes. "And you agreed?" I wasn't thinking straight. Not thinking straight. I picked up the fruit knife, gesturing with it. "Were you not thinking straight when you were planning my accidental death?" She was petrified, shaking her head. "It wasn't me. It was him. He planned everything." "Is that so?" I walked over to Carter and kicked him. "Then let's wake him up and see if your stories match." I went to the bathroom and filled a basin with cold water. Splash! The icy water shocked Carter awake. He came to with a cry of pain. "My neck! My back!" He opened his eyes and saw me, and next to me, the trembling Jessica. His expression changed instantly. "Hayes, you're awake. Good." I held up my phone, showing him the recording screen. "Your girlfriend here just spilled everything. Murder for hire, corporate sabotage, insurance fraud. You're in a lot of trouble, Mr. Vance." Carter's eyes darkened. He was a tough bastard. After a moment of panic, he regained his composure. "You have no proof," he snarled. "Even with the recording, I'll say you coerced her." "Oh, really?" I smiled. "Let's play a game. What do you think happens if I call the cops right now? They show up, find you a married man in my home at night with a gun, beaten unconscious, and my wife tearfully accuses you of breaking in and trying to assault her. Who do you think they'll believe?" Carter's face finally fell. Jess was stunned. They never imagined I'd come up with this scenario. In this version, Ethan Hayes, was the victim. My wife, Jessica, was the victim I was protecting. And Carter was the monster. "You." Carter seethed. "Jessica, you wouldn't dare." Jess looked from me to Carter, her face bloodless. She was trapped. Help Carter, and she was an accomplice to murder. Help me, and she'd be free of criminal charges, but she'd make a powerful enemy. "You have 3 seconds to decide," I said to her, my voice like ice. 1. Carter stared daggers at her, his eyes filled with threats. 2. Jess began to tremble violently, biting her lip so hard it bled. "Hayes, don't you push her," Carter roared. 3. The word had barely left my lips when Jess threw herself at my feet, grabbing my leg and bursting into theatrical sobs. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. He made me do it. He was threatening me with our family's finances. He said if I didn't help him, he'd ruin your company and leave you with nothing. I did it all for you." A truly award-winning performance. Carter's eyes turned bloodshot. He looked at her like a betrayed animal. "You bitch. You're playing me. See?" I looked down at Carter. "This is the woman you chose. The first sign of trouble, and she stabs you in the back." I stopped the recording and put the phone in my pocket. Then I dialed 911. "Yes, I'd like to report crime. An intruder broke into my home. He has a gun. He attacked my wife and tried to kill me. My address is..." On the other end of the line, the dispatcher's calm voice gave instructions. Here, in my living room, there was only Carter's desperate cursing and Jessica's sobs of feigned relief. I knew in this round I had won, but this was just the beginning. The cops were fast. Seeing the scene, the veteran officers took control immediately. Carter, due to his injuries, was taken to the hospital by ambulance, with 2 cops escorting him. Jessica and I, the victims, were taken to the station to give our statements. In the back of the squad car, Jess kept trying to touch me, to hold my hand. I subtly moved away each time. Her eyes were a mix of pleading and terror. She knew I was her only lifeline. As long as I maintained her innocence, she was safe. At the station, we were interviewed separately. A young officer handed me a cup of hot water. "Mr. Hayes, try to relax. Just tell us everything that happened after you got home." I nodded and began my carefully crafted story. I came home early from a business trip to surprise my wife. As soon as I walked in, I knew something was wrong. She was terrified. I asked her what was going on, but she couldn't speak. I had a bad feeling, so I went to the bedroom, and that's when I saw him, Carter Vance, pointing a gun at me. Did he say anything? He said he'd wanted my wife for a long time and that I should divorce her or he'd kill me. I lower my head, my voice trembling with convincing, retroactive fear. I was scared to death, but I had to protect my wife. When he was distracted, I hit his gun with a baseball bat and then I fought him and subdued him. What was your wife doing during this? She was paralyzed with fear, crying, begging him to let me go. He threatened her, said if she dared to call the police, he would. I trailed off, letting my manufactured anger and shame fill the silence. The young officer nodded with understanding, scribbling notes. "And you know who Mr. Vance is?" "Yes," I said. "He's with Vance Industries. They're our main competitor. I just never thought he'd stoop to something like this." Everything I said was technically the truth. Carter was in my home. He had a gun. Our companies were rivals. I just omitted Jessica's role, transforming her from co-conspirator to damsel in distress. After finishing the statement, I signed the report. As I walked out of the interview room, I saw Jess coming out of another. Her eyes were red and puffy. The moment she saw me, she ran over as if I were her savior. "Ethan." "Officer, my wife has been through a traumatic experience. I'd like to take her home to rest," I said to the cop with her. He nodded. "Of course. We'll be in touch if we need anything else. Rest assured, we take cases involving firearms very seriously. We will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law." We walked out of the station. The cold night air felt good on my face. Jess followed a step behind me, silent. I hailed a cab and gave our address. The ride home was suffocatingly quiet. Several times she opened her mouth to speak, but after glancing at my icy profile, she closed it again. She had no idea where she stood with me. Back at the condo, the place was still a mess. The police had finished collecting evidence, but the overturned shelf and the puddles of water remained. I ignored it, walking straight into the bedroom. I took all my documents, passport, bank cards from the closet and stuffed them into a backpack. Then I took out a single piece of paper and threw it on the bed in front of her. A divorce agreement. The color drained from her face. "Ethan, what is this?" she trembled. "Sign it." "No, I won't sign." She lunged to hug me, and I sidestepped her, disgusted. "Ethan, I know I was wrong. Please, forgive me just this once. You made me do it. I love you." "You love me?" I laughed, as if it were the funniest joke in the world. "You love me, so you conspired with your lover, took out a $2 million insurance policy, prepared a flower pot on the balcony, and had a loaded gun in my bedroom, all to make sure I ended up dead?" With every word, her face grew paler. These were details the police didn't know, but she knew that I knew. This was between us now. "But you told the police." "What I told the police and how things are between us are two different things," I said coldly. "I did that to make sure Carter Vance's life is utterly destroyed. A psycho corporate heir who breaks into homes with a gun to steal another man's wife? What do you think that will do to his reputation? To his company?" Jessica was stunned. "As for you," I said, pointing to the papers, "sign them. You leave with nothing. We're done. If you don't, I'm walking straight back to that police station to change my statement, and I'm giving them the recording. Your choice." The recording of her confession was still on my phone, a sword hanging over her head. She collapsed onto the floor, her eyes empty. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She thought I had pulled her from the abyss, but I had only led her to the edge of a different cliff before pushing her off myself. After a long moment, her hand shaking, she picked up the pen and signed her name. I took the agreement, glanced at it, and slung my backpack over my shoulder. "I don't want a condo. I don't want anything in it. Good luck." I turned and walked away without a shred of hesitation. At the door, I paused but didn't look back. "Oh, and one more thing. When you convinced me to take out that insurance policy, I had a funny feeling. So I changed the beneficiary to my parents. Even if I had died, you wouldn't have seen a dime." I opened the door and walked out, leaving her shattered wails behind me. Outside the building, I looked up at our window. The light was still on. That place used to be my home. Now it was just a tomb for my love and trust. The first step of my revenge was complete. Next up, Carter Vance and Vance Industries. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Hey, Dave. It's Ethan Hayes. I've run into some trouble. I need your help. Also about that Vance Industries project. I have some new ideas. The next day, I didn't go to the office. I checked into a hotel and met with Dave, my lawyer. He'd been my best friend since college. I told him everything that happened, leaving out the part about the time loops. When I finished, he slammed his fist on the table. That's inhuman. Ethan, don't you worry. I'll take this case pro bono if I have to. We're going to make sure those two rot in prison. I shook my head. Prison is too easy. I want them to lose everything. I laid out my plan for him. As I spoke, his eyes lit up. Finally, he clapped me on the shoulder. Man, you've changed. But I have to say, I like it. Over the next few days, while Dave handled the legal side of things, I began phase 2. With a little anonymous pushing from my end, the story of Carter Vance, the violent corporate heir, exploded online. Vance Industries' stock took a nosedive. Carter's father, the chairman, tried to do damage control, but it was useless. Because I had an ace up my sleeve, Jessica, I had left her with nothing, but I didn't push her into a corner. Through Dave, I had an anonymous delivery of cash sent to the basement apartment she was now renting, just enough to survive. At the same time, I had a source leak to her that Carter's father was pulling strings to pin all the blame on her. What does a woman with nothing left to lose do? She bites back. Hard. Sure enough, during her next interview with the police, Jessica had a complete breakdown. She tearfully recanted parts of her story, detailing how Carter had manipulated and threatened her. She even produced old text messages from him, full of controlling and violent language. It was another nail in his coffin. Meanwhile, I used the time to re-examine the overseas project. Carter wanted it badly, which meant there was more to it than met the eye. Using my knowledge of the deal and scraps of conversation I'd overheard in the loops, I found the truth. On the surface, it was a green energy venture. But buried in the fine print was exclusive access to a rare earth mineral, a key component for manufacturing next-generation semiconductors. Vance Industries have been secretly trying to break into the semiconductor market for years. Their goal wasn't just the project. It was to control the supply chain. The realization sent a chill down my spine. If they had succeeded, it would have been a catastrophic blow not just to my company, but to the entire domestic tech industry. I couldn't let that happen. I compiled a detailed report with all the evidence I could find and sent it via an encrypted email to my company's board of directors and to a contact I had in the Department of Homeland Security. This was bigger than corporate rivalry. This was a matter of national security. When it was all done, I felt hollowed out. I lay on the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling. For days, I've been a machine, calculating, planning, striking. I hadn't even had time to grieve. Now, in the dead of night, the pain of betrayal washed over me, a tidal wave threatening to drown me. I scrolled through the old photos of me and Jess on my phone, her smiling, leaning against me, looking at me like I was her whole world. All of it a lie. One by one, I deleted them, erasing our past. I stopped at the last one, our wedding photo. I was grinning like an idiot. I stared at it for a long time, then hit delete. Goodbye, Ethan. The naive, trusting fool was dead. The man who survived was a ghost who had crawled his way back from hell. My phone rang, a blocked number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. A synthesized voice, impossible to tell if it was male or female, came through the speaker. Well done. Faster than we anticipated. A jolt went through me. My grip on the phone tightened. Who is this? Who I am isn't important, the voice said. What's important is that you've passed the initiation. Initiation? My mind flashed back to the end of the third loop. After I called 911, my phone had vibrated. I thought I'd imagined it. What do you mean? The time loops. That was you. A reasonable assumption, the voice said, devoid of emotion. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. We chose you. We gave you a chance to rewrite your fate. You took it. Who are you people? What do you want? You'll know when the time is right, the voice said. Vance and your wife were just a pebble in your path. Your real challenges are yet to come. Stay alive. Cleaner. Cleaner. The line went dead. I stood there, Phone in hand, my head spinning. Cleaner. Initiation. My rebirth, the loops, none of it was an accident. Some secret organization was pulling the strings. They had chosen me, given me a code name. The world was infinitely more complex than I had ever imagined. Looking out at the glittering city lights, I felt, for the first time, that my life was just beginning. The next few weeks were quiet. I went back to work, submitted my divorce papers, and dealt with the HR paperwork. My colleagues looked at me with pity, but no one asked questions. The 9-figure project was put on hold pending a federal investigation, thanks to my report. The board commended my integrity, gave me a promotion, and put me in charge of restructuring the entire deal. Carter Vance's case went to trial. Between the home invasion, corporate espionage, and his father's attempts at bribery and obstruction of justice, the Vance family was ruined. Vance Industries collapsed into bankruptcy. Jessica, thanks to her role as a cooperative victim, was never charged. But her reputation in Chicago was destroyed. I heard she moved to a new city where no one knew her. Everything had gone according to my plan, but the mystery of the cleaners lingered. I tried to trace the number, but it was a ghost. Life was supposed to be back on track, better even. I had a better job, more money. There was no shortage of interest from women. A new intern, a bright young woman named Chloe, was always finding excuses to talk to me. My friends told me to move on. Ethan, you're only 30. You can't live in the past. She wasn't worth it, Dave said, clapping my shoulder over drinks. I just smiled and finished my bourbon. They didn't understand. You can't forget dying. The struggle, the despair, it was part of my DNA now. I didn't trust anyone. I had become quiet, suspicious, instinctively analyzing everyone around me. It was my new nature. One night, I was working late. It was raining when I left the office building. I didn't have an umbrella and was standing under the awning when a red sports car pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down, revealing a stunningly beautiful woman. It was the company's new VP of operations, Maya Reed. She had been a surprise hire, a woman with a mysterious background and a ruthless business sense who had landed 3 major accounts in her first month. We'd only spoken in meetings. Mister, hey, forgot your umbrella? I can give you a lift. No, thank you, Ms. Reed. I can get a ride, I said politely. Don't be silly. You'll never get an Uber in this weather. Get in. It's on my way, she said with a smile that was both charming and non-negotiable. I hesitated, then got in. The car was warm and smelled of a faint, pleasant perfume. Where to? She asked. I gave her the address of my hotel. You haven't found a new place yet? She asked, surprised. Not a priority right now. We drove in silence. Just as we were pulling up to the hotel, she spoke. You're a very capable man, Ethan. I was taken aback. Thank you, Ms. Reed. But, she said, her tone shifting, you're wound too tight, like a drawn bowstring. It must be exhausting. My heart skipped a beat. I looked at her, really looked at her. Her eyes were deep, as if she could see right through me. I'm not sure what I mean, I said, my voice neutral. She smiled and reached into the glove compartment, pulling out a black folder. She handed it to me. Take a look. I opened it. The first page was a photo of me, with a dossier so detailed it included my grade school report cards. My blood ran cold. I flipped the page. A file on Jessica, then Carter, then a copy of the Vance Industries semiconductor plan, more detailed than the one I had put together. My hand started to shake. I kept flipping. It was a complete record of the last few weeks. Every call I made, every meeting with Dave, every anonymous tip I leaked. It even documented the cash I'd sent to Jessica. It was all there, as if I'd been under 24/7 surveillance. I snapped the folder shut and stared at her. Who are you? Maya turned off the engine. The rain drummed against the roof. I'm like you, she said. What? She turned to face me, and in her eyes, I recognized something familiar. The look of a fellow survivor. The cold, sharp edge that only comes from having been through hell. I'm a cleaner, too. She reached up and pulled a silver chain from under her shirt. The pendant was a strange symbol, like a burning hourglass. Welcome to the team, Ethan. My mind went blank. The cleaners. Maya. This woman was part of the same secret organization. Why me? I finally asked. Because you're ruthless and you're smart, she said. You were in an impossible situation, and you didn't just survive. You executed a textbook counteroffensive. Your evaluation report was S-class. S-class. That phone call. Was it you? No, that was a handler, Maya said. Every new operative gets a call after their first mission. It's your ticket in. Mission? I frowned. That wasn't a mission. It was revenge. For us, there's no difference, she said flatly. The world is full of garbage like Carter Vance, hiding in the shadows, using their power and money to do whatever they want. Our job is to take out the trash. Take out the trash. Cleaners. It all made sense now. So you're some kind of vigilante group? The words sounded ridiculous. You could say that. But we're not cops. We operate outside the law. We have our own code. She looked at me. Rule number 1. No harm to innocents. I fell silent. I had killed Carter, albeit in a time loop. I had driven Jessica to ruin. Was that harming an innocent? Jessica wasn't innocent, Maya said, as if reading my mind. She chose greed and betrayal. She had to face the consequences. What you did was within the code. What is this organization? Who runs it? Where is it based? Maya shook her head. You don't need to know that yet. All you need to know is that you're not alone anymore. You have a team, you have backup, and you have a new purpose. She started the car again. Get some rest. Someone will contact you tomorrow with your first official assignment. You'll need to be sharp. I didn't move. What if I refuse? Maya smiled. She leaned closer, her warm breath on my ear. You can't, she whispered, her voice soft but absolute. Ethan, you and I are the same. We've crawled out of our own graves. The brand of the cleaners is already on our souls. You can lie to everyone else, but you can't lie to yourself. You enjoyed it. The revenge, the control. Didn't you? I had no answer. She was right. When I went from being the sheep to the slaughter to the hunter in control, I had felt a dark, intoxicating thrill. There was no going back. I got out of the car. Ethan, she called out. I turned back. Welcome to the real world, she said with a quick smile, then hit the gas, the red sports car disappearing into the rain. I stood there in the cold. The real world? My whole life up to this point had been a lie. My first assignment came the next day via an encrypted app. The sender's code name, Handler. Target, Alastair Finch. Identity, renowned economics professor at Northwood University. Highly respected public intellectual. Crime, long-term abuse of power, psychological and sexual assault of female students. At least 3 victims have developed severe depression. 1 attempted suicide. Objective, expose him. Ensure his personal and professional ruin, followed by legal prosecution. Time frame, 1 month. Note, target is extremely cautious and has strong counter-surveillance skills. No direct evidence has ever been recovered. Attached were Finch's file and information on his victims. I looked at the photo of the girl who had tried to kill herself. She was 19. Her eyes were empty. The rage I felt for Carter and Jess was rekindled. They were motivated by greed. This man was pure evil, a monster hiding in plain sight. I accepted the mission. This time, I had a partner. We've been watching Finch for a while, Maya said, sliding a thicker file across the table in the back room of a coffee shop. He's careful, never uses electronic devices to communicate his intentions. He holds his victims' futures in his hands, and they're too scared to talk. So the victims are still the only way in, I said. Correct. But their psychological walls are thick, Maya said. We sent a female agent to try and connect with them. She failed. Then we changed the approach. I said, my mind already working. If he likes to play mind games, we'll beat him at his own game. The plan was simple. If we couldn't find evidence, we would make him create it for us. I had Dave set up a shell corporation, a fake overseas philanthropic foundation. As a representative of the foundation, I contacted Northwood University and offered a multi-million-dollar grant to establish a scholarship for underprivileged female students. My one condition, we wanted a distinguished professor to act as an honorary advisor for the project. The university, eager for the donation, immediately recommended Professor Alastair Finch. It was all going according to plan. In our first meeting, I played the part of a naive, newly rich heir, eager to do good but clueless about how the world worked. I fawned over Professor Finch, hinting at my foundation's immense wealth and influence. He took the bait. He was effusive, insisting on personally vetting the scholarship candidates. Perfect. I casually mentioned that the founder of my foundation had a little quirk. He liked to collect artistic photos of the beautiful young women his charity helped as a memento of his good deeds. Of course, the foundation was willing to pay handsomely for such services. I expected Finch to at least feign reluctance. He didn't. A greedy, predatory light flared in his eyes. Well, that shouldn't be a problem at all, he said, rubbing his hands together. Mr. Hayes, you can count on me. I'll make sure the girls we select are of the highest artistic quality. Looking at his repulsive face, I had to fight the urge to smash it in. The fish was on the hook. Now he needed a leading lady. Maya was the obvious choice. She transformed into Anna Vance, a brilliant but poor student from a rural town, introverted and insecure. Finch's perfect prey. I submitted her file as a top scholarship candidate. He singled her out immediately. He began his usual grooming process, praise in class, followed by fatherly concern. Anna, you have great potential, but you must overcome your shyness. I have a research project you might be interested in. If you ever have any problems, my door is always open. It was a classic routine. Maya's acting was flawless. She played the part of a vulnerable, grateful student to perfection, blushing at his praise, tearing up at his concern. Finch was delighted. He thought he had found his next victim. The time was right. Finch asked Maya to his office for private tutoring. I was in a nearby cafe, watching and listening through a micro camera in her coat button and a hidden earpiece. Anna, sit down, Finch said. His office was tastefully decorated, a scholar's sanctuary, a butcher's shop in disguise. Maya sat down nervously. He poured her a glass of water and sat next to her, too close. Anna, your paper was excellent, but it needs a little polishing, he began, putting his hand on her shoulder. Maya flinched and pulled away slightly. He pressed on, his hand sliding down to hold hers. Don't be nervous, Anna. I only want to help you. Good grades aren't enough in this world. You need connections. If you listen to me, I can guarantee you a bright future. I heard Maya's voice through the earpiece, trembling and laced with tears. Professor, what are you doing? Silly girl, he chuckled, leaning in to kiss her. Showtime. I pressed a button on my phone. Finch's office door burst open. I stood there, flanked by two large bodyguards, my face a mask of shock and outrage. Finch leaped up, terrified. Maya ran behind me, sobbing, Mr. Hayes, I don't know. He looked from me to my bodyguards, his face pale. Mr. Hayes, this is a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I sneered. I saw you with my own eyes. I trusted you with this project, with these girls, and this is how you repay that trust. No, she seduced me. It was her. He shrieked, pointing a shaking finger at Maya. Enough, I yelled. I thought you just had a weird hobby, but you're a monster. You've disappointed me, Professor. I turned to my men. Please escort the professor to the car. I'd like to have a little chat with him. They grabbed him. What are you doing? Let me go. This is university property. I'll call the police. Police. I walked up to him and patted his cheek. Go ahead. Who will they believe? You or me and my traumatized student? Oh, and by the way, I have a video of that little misunderstanding. I held up my phone. The color drained from his face. He knew he was finished. He was dragged away like a sack of garbage. Maya stepped out from behind me, her expression turning neutral. Nice acting, I said. You too, she replied, raising an eyebrow. So what kind of chat did you have in mind? The kind where he gives us the originals of all his artwork, I said with a grim smile. I knew a man like Finch would keep trophies of his conquests. It was his weakness, and it would be his undoing. In an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, Finch was tied to a chair, gagged and terrified. I sat across from him, slowly polishing a scalpel. Professor, relax, I said, holding the blade up for him to see. I'm a civilized man. We're just going to play a little game. I pulled the gag from his mouth. I ask, you answer. If you answer incorrectly, I drew the blade lightly across his cheek, leaving a thin red line. Well, things might get messy. He was shaking so hard he wet himself. What do you want? Money? I'll give you all my money. I'm not interested in your dirty money, I said. I want your collection of art. His face fell. I don't know what you're talking about. I see. I sighed, picking up his left hand and placing the tip of the scalpel on his little finger. I'll ask one more time. Where is it? I'll talk. I'll talk, he screamed. It's on my office computer, D drive, in a hidden folder called Research. The password is my birthday. I nodded to one of my bodyguards, a tech specialist from the organization codenamed Ghost. He opened a laptop and, in moments, had bypassed the university security. "I'm in," Ghost said. "There's a lot of material. Downloading now." I looked at Finch, who is now just a whimpering mess. "You've been a busy man, Professor." "Please, let me go," he begged. "Take it all. I won't say a word." "Let you go." I stood over him. "Who's going to let go of the girls whose lives you ruined? The 19-year-old girl who tried to jump off a roof. Because of you? Did you let her go?" He looked at me blankly. He didn't even remember her. My last shred of pity vanished. I turned to Ghost. "Package all the files. Send one copy to every victim. Send another to every major news outlet and the university's ethics committee. And upload the last one to every dark corner of the internet. Let's make him famous." "No, please." Finch shrieked in despair. "You can't. You'll destroy me." "It's what you deserve," I said coldly. After we were done, Maya and I walked out of the warehouse into the dawn light. "Is it over?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "The final judgment is just beginning." I took out my phone and dialed 911. "Yes, I'd like to report crime. Professor Alastair Finch of Northwood University is a serial sexual predator, and I have the proof." "Yes, I'm a witness. I'm currently with another victim and the suspect himself at the warehouse on." We would not only destroy his reputation, we would make sure he spent the rest of his life in a cage. That was the cleaner's way. Finch's case detonated a media firestorm. His crimes were everywhere. Empowered by the evidence we sent them, his victims, one by one, came forward to tell their stories. Finch received a life sentence. The university administration was gutted for their negligence. Mission complete. I got a message from the handler. Mission assessment, S-class. Reward, 1,000 points. Security clearance upgraded. A new option appeared in my app, database. It was a massive archive of information. On a whim, I typed in Jessica Hayes. Her file popped up. Most of it was familiar, but at the bottom, there was a new entry. Subject, Jessica Hayes. Status, recruited by the scavenger organization. Note, scavengers are a hostile entity to the cleaners. Scavengers? I searched the name. The Scavengers, an extremist organization comprised of outcasts and criminals united by a nihilistic worldview and a desire for chaos. Primary target for cleaner operations. My heart sank. Jessica had joined them. She hated me, hated the world. She would be back. And when we met again, it wouldn't be as ex-husband and ex-wife. It would be as cleaner and scavenger. A fight to the death. Jessica came back sooner than I expected. After the Finch case, I tried to settle into my new life, but I knew a storm was gathering. I spent my free time digging through the database, learning everything I could about the Scavengers. They were a shadowy network of terrorists and criminals. Their only ideology, a shared hatred for the established order. And Jessica, smart, beautiful, and intimately knowledgeable about me, was a valuable asset to them. One day, Dave burst into my office, his face pale. "Ethan, something's happened." He was holding a newspaper. The headline was stark. "Disgraced chairman of Vance Industries dead in apparent prison suicide." My eyes narrowed. Carter's father was many things, but suicidal wasn't one of them. "What happened?" "They're saying it was depression," Dave said. "But the rumor is someone on the inside got to him." A knot formed in my stomach. That afternoon, an alert came through from the organization. Warning, scavenger activity detected. Target linked to Vance Industries case. Operative codenamed Magpie is active in Chicago. Magpie, a bird that steals shiny things. It was Jessica. She was back, and she had announced her return with a murder. She was sending me a message. "What does she want?" I asked Maya. We were at a cleaner's safe house, a converted boxing gym. "Revenge," Maya said, landing a series of brutal punches on a heavy bag. "On you. On everyone she blames for her downfall. Carter's dad was just the first. Who's next?" "Take a guess," she said. A name flashed in my mind. "Dave, my friend, the one who had helped me put her and Carter away. If she wanted to hurt me, she would go after the people I cared about." I called him immediately. It rang for a long time before he picked up. "Ethan, what's up?" His voice was loud, music blasting in the background. "Where are you?" I demanded. "At Noir, this bar downtown. Meeting some people." "Why?" "Want to join." "Noir, one of the seediest places in the city. Is there a very beautiful woman with you?" "Hey, how do you know?" He laughed. "Just met her. Name's Anna. Total knockout." Says she's a fan of my work, saw the press about the Vance case. My blood ran cold. Anna. Jessica's middle name. Get out of there, Dave. Right now. I yelled into the phone. What? Why are you? His voice was cut off by a woman's scream, the sound of shattering glass, and then the line went dead. I tried calling back. No answer. Damn it. I slammed my fist against a brick wall. Let's go. Maya was already changed, tossing me a set of keys. Ghost has a lock on his phone. It's in the alley behind the bar. We have to get there before they move him. I pushed the car to its limit, weaving through the city streets, my mind a blank panic. Dave couldn't get hurt. Not because of me. When we got to the alley, it was already swarming with cops. I pushed through the crowd. A black van stood with its doors open. On the pavement was a pool of blood and a shattered cell phone. Dave's phone. A cop was talking to a bouncer. Heard a scream, came out, saw some guys dragging a drunk dude into the van. It was too fast, didn't get the plates. I stumbled, and Maya caught me. Stay calm, she said. Ghost is hacking the city's traffic cams. They can't have gotten far. I took a breath. She was right. Panic wouldn't help. Jessica hadn't killed him. Not yet. She was using him as bait. All I had to do was wait for her call. And then I would finish this. I waited all night in Dave's law office. Maya and Ghost coordinated a citywide search. Just before dawn, my phone rang. A blocked, encrypted number. Her. I answered, putting it on speaker so Ghost could trace the signal. Ethan. Long time no see. Jessica's voice, laced with a venomous sweetness. You seem to be doing well for yourself. The big promotion. A real success story. Jessica, I said, my voice level. Let Dave go. This is between you and me. She laughed, a high, unhinged sound. Between you and me? Funny. When you two worked together to ruin my life, no one seemed to think he was an innocent bystander. You're still such a hypocrite, Ethan. What do you want? What do I want? She shrieked. I want you to feel what I felt. I want you to have nothing. I want you to get on your knees and beg me. Just like I begged you. Give me the address, I said. So eager? Not worried it's a trap? The address. There was a pause. Pier 7. Warehouse C. Come alone. If I see a single cop or any of your new friends, she hissed, I will cut your lawyer into little pieces and feed him to the fish. I'll be there. I hung up. Ghost's voice came through Maya's earpiece. The signal is from that location, but it's being jammed. I can't see what's inside. It's a trap, Maya said. She knows about the cleaners. You can't go alone. I have to, I said. It's my fault he's in this mess. I'm going with you. No. She knows me. If she sees anyone else, she'll kill him. I looked at her. I just need a few toys. Half an hour later, I pulled up to Pier 7. My watch was a microcomputer. My shirt button, a camera. The sole of my shoe concealed a ceramic blade. The warehouse door was open, a gaping maw. I walked inside. Dave was hanging from the ceiling, bound and gagged, his face bruised and swollen. Below him stood Jessica. She was dressed in black leather, idly flipping a butterfly knife. She was no longer the woman I had married. She was a predator. Behind her, a half-dozen armed thugs, her scavenger cronies. You actually came alone, she purred. How brave. Or how stupid. Let him go. Sure, she smiled. Kneel. Beg me. I didn't move. No. Okay. She walked over and placed the tip of her knife against the rope holding Dave. I'll count to 3. From this height, the fall won't kill him. But he'll never walk again. 1, 2. Slowly, I dropped to one knee. A sick look of satisfaction spread across her face. That's better. Now beg for his life. I looked up at her. You know, Jess, you're pathetic. Her smile vanished. What did you say? I said, you're pathetic. I stood up, brushing the dust from my knee. You think joining this cult of losers makes you strong? You just traded one master for another. You've never had a thought of your own in your life. Shut up, she screamed. You think you killed Carter's father? I said, walking toward her. You're just the knife the scavengers use to do their dirty work. With him out of the way, they can swallow up what's left of Vance Industries. You're not a queen, Jessica. You're just a pawn. I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes, and in the eyes of the thugs behind her. You're lying. Try to turn them against me, she shrieked. Am I? I was standing in front of her now. You betrayed me for money. What do you get for betraying them? You think they trust you? Kill him. Kill him now, she screamed at her men. No one moved. Suddenly, alarms blared. Floodlights ignited. blinding everyone. All around us, armed figures rappelled from the ceiling and emerged from the shadows. Cleaner tactical teams. Maya was at the front, a pistol in each hand. "Drop your weapons. You're surrounded." Jessica's thugs immediately threw down their guns and surrendered. Jessica stood alone, a cornered animal. She looked at me, then at the cleaners, a crazed, desperate smile on her face. "If I'm going down, I'm taking him with me." She lunged for the rope, but I was faster. I crashed into her with my shoulder, sending her flying into a shipping container. She crumpled to the ground. I got under Dave just as the rope snapped, catching him before he hit the concrete. The impact nearly dislocated my shoulder, but I held on. I laid him down gently. "It's okay," I whispered. "I'm taking you home." I walked over to Jessica. She was trying to get up, coughing up blood. I knelt beside her. "It's over." "Yeah, it's over," she wheezed, a bloody smile on her face. "You win, Ethan. You always win." This was never about winning or losing. If you hadn't come home early that day," she whispered, her voice fading, "would we?" I didn't know how to answer. Her eyes went dull. In her last moment, I couldn't tell if she felt regret or just hatred. Maybe both. I stood up. Maya was beside me. "She's dead." "I know. The organization will handle the cleanup. The Scavengers' Chicago cell is finished." I nodded and walked back to Dave, lifting him onto my back. As I walked out of the warehouse, the morning sun was bright. I was carrying my friend out of the darkness, leaving it all behind me. I was a cleaner, a man who walked the line between the light and the shadows. Dave was fine, just banged up and shaken. After settling him in at the hospital, I found Maya waiting for me. "Congratulations. Another S-class mission," she said. "By the way, that was the division head of the local scavengers. The handler is very pleased." "Was it really my impact that killed her?" I asked. I knew I hadn't hit her hard enough. Maya hesitated. Her knife was poisoned. When she lunged for the rope, the tip grazed her own hand. "It was fast acting. She was planning on taking you with her." I felt a hollow ache. She loved me, and she hated me. It was all real. "It's over," Maya said. "Now you need to think about your future. The handler has two options for you. 1, stay here, take over the Chicago office as regional director. 2, come to headquarters for advanced training, to take on more important missions." Before I could answer, she said, "But first, someone wants to meet you." She led me to a high-security wing of the hospital. In a private room, an old man lay on a bed, hooked up to a dozen machines. He was frail, but his eyes were sharp as an eagle's. "You've come," he rasped. "You are. You can call me number 1. I froze. In the cleaner database, there was only one number 1, the founder. "I've read your files, Ethan," he said. "All of them, including your time loops." He knew everything. The ability to loop time. "We gave it to you. It's called a fire seed program. We find good people in impossible situations and give them a second chance. Most fail. They break, or they become monsters themselves. But you held onto your humanity. You are the most perfect success the program has ever produced." My mind reeled. "I don't have much time left," he breathed. "The organization needs a new leader. Someone smart, ruthless, and with a core of decency. Maya is my adopted daughter, my best operative, but she's never had to crawl out of hell. She lacks the final, necessary edge." He looked at me. "You have it." "Me? I'm giving you 1 year," he said. Go to headquarters. Survive the training. If you pass the final test, you will become the new number 1. The entire cleaner organization will be yours." I looked at the dying man, at the fire still burning in his eyes. My blood sang. "I accept," I said. To be a cleaner was not my choice. To be the best, that would be my will. A year later, a remote island in the South Pacific. Headquarters, codenamed the Crucible. I stood on a cliff's edge, my bare torso a roadmap of scars. The training had been inhuman. 30 candidates, the best of the Fire Seed program, had entered the Crucible with me. I was the only one left. Today was my final test. Maya stood behind me. She was no longer a corporate VP, but a hardened warrior. For the past year, she had been my instructor, my rival, and my only friend. "Ready?" she asked. "What's the test?" "Kill me," she said, her face expressionless. That was number 1's final order. The new leader must have no emotional attachments. I am your only attachment. My world tilted. We were partners, comrades. But in the old man's grand design, we were always destined for this. What if I refuse? Then the Elder Council will have us both eliminated, she said. The rules are absolute. She tossed a combat knife at my feet. Let's begin. I looked at the knife, then at her. Why you? For the first time, I saw a flicker of pain in her eyes. Because I'm a fire seed too, she said softly. My first mission was a failure. I was caught, tortured, and killed. Number 1 activated my loop. It took me 97 tries to succeed. From that day on, my purpose was to be the final test for a candidate like you. The ultimate whetstone. We were both just pieces on a board. I picked up the knife. Let's go. We moved, a blur of motion at the cliff's edge. We knew each other's every move. It was a perfectly matched, unwinnable fight. We broke apart, bleeding and breathing hard. Why are you holding back? She panted. Have you forgotten what a woman's love gets you? I looked into her eyes. Then I threw my knife to the ground. She stared, confused. Giving up. No, I said, opening my arms. I'm changing the test. The rule is one must die. Let be me. You live. You find out what secrets this organization is really hiding. Her body shook. You're insane. Maybe, but I won't become a machine. If the price of being number 1 is killing the only person I trust, I don't want it. Tears streamed down her face. You bastard, Ethan. She raised her knife, aiming for my heart. I closed my eyes. The killing blow never came. I opened them to find her collapsed in my arms, sobbing. A slow clap echoed from behind us. An old man stood there, flanked by the Elder Council. Bravo, he said, smiling. Congratulations. You have both passed the final test. We stared at him, stunned. The real test wasn't whether you could kill her, the old man said. It was whether you would choose power over humanity. A leader needs a fire in his heart and a respect for the lives of his comrades. He extended his hand. Hello, Ethan. I am Zero, head of the Elder Council, and you are the new number 1. I looked at him, then down at Maya in my arms. The sun broke through the clouds. I smiled. We had both won. My journey as a cleaner was just beginning, and this time I was not alone. End.